Hey, hi all. So I believe we are live right now, and it's great to have you all on the JiraCon23 and the known one of the best sessions going on every time, and that's how we would like our contribution with you guys to help you out. So probably if you have the your devices, mobile phones right now, you can go ahead and just scan our QR code. So those are just for our LinkedIn profile, especially. So you can connect us, guys, using this QR code. So myself, Piyush Annadate, and we have Bibek Behera. So Vivek, back to you.
Hi guys, this is Bibek here. We both work for Strategenics for the migration team. So we'll be sharing our hard-learned experience and what steps we generally take for the migrations. So stay tuned. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to pick those once the session is over. So I'll be kind of navigating through the slides while Piyush talk through the story. Yep, all yours, Piyush.
Sure. Thanks. And just to know, guys, like we have a live chat available right now. Okay. So at any point of time, if you feel that we are quite fast or we are quite slow, just hit your message right there, and we'll get to know about that, and we'll just make this session great for you guys. Okay. So probably we'll just start. And the basic thing, this session is for proven post migration checks, right? So actually what this is actually, okay. So we all know that we in a day-to-day process or a monthly basis, we every time come across some kind of migrations. Let it be like cloud migration from like server to cloud, data center to cloud, or even server to data center. And everything relies on the user, right? Everything, every time it's rely on the user, and the user are like they are the god for us. Okay, and whatever they say, that's what we need to follow. Eventually they are going to ask us for the best and how it's going to be. So that's what we need to follow. So eventually at the end of the day, whatever action we do, it comes up with the testing process, how actually the testing should be. And I know this topic is more like with the testing process, what actually you should do, but we will be focusing quite few more required process, just like just prior to the migration or during the migration, what the prerequisite we always follow. And then just having the completion of the migration, right? Let it be UAT or let it be production. So what actually we need to test it out, because whatever testing that you generally do, right? So that testing will always be depending on the prerequisite that you have taken. Okay. So this is our agenda for today. Introduction to your cloud migration, what actually we are talking about, and the disruption of rolling back, like what are the bad ways we have to roll it back, and whatever the work we have done till now and how it's going to impact. And the importance of post migration testing, why it's really, really important to have your testing to be there in your big budget or big summary, and action items for successful testing. And this action item, we have one more thing, that's your lesson learned. Actually, we will be talking about the lesson learned from our side, like what we have seen till now. Like sometime we have seen an XYZ kind of bugs or something like that, and we have observed it, and we have observed those on the, according to us, like we calculated some sort of metric, and we found out that those were like around 83 to 85% of cases. Those were common cases every time. So moving to next. So what we have right now is what is a cloud migration actually, what we are talking about, for what kind of facts and action items this all testing is all about. So as simple, it's nothing there. We all knows about it. And though you are a user or admin or a C-level or V-suite guy in a company, or even a partner, or even a Jira admin, or just new to the Jira admin process or Atlassian admin process, you will come across this statement of cloud migration. So this is nothing but you are moving every architecture, every system, whatever you have in Atlassian tools, to the tools which are there by the Atlassian in the cloud. Okay, for example, we're talking about you have a Jira server, Confluence server, and since we are going to have the end of life, it's already gone, right? So then we go back to the Atlassian that probably we're gonna go for the data center, or else we're gonna go for the cloud tools. So that's where this migration, this moving our data application and services comes into the picture. So when I say the data, it's all like your actual Jira Confluence data, application is Jira Confluence in this case, in this session, and the services could be like connecting to different application, different integration, and all kind of stuff. So actually, there has to be some kind of motivation. Like, do you really require a cloud migration, or what are the different aspects, right? I know at the end of the day, it's all that the server is going to shut down. What else? What is scalability? Whether how that would be cost effective. The cost efficiency is always depending on the level of architecture you have in your company, right? So if you go to the cloud, how it's going to be beneficial. Like many times we discuss that it is a cost effective, it might be not be cost effective, but being a Jira admin or being an Atlassian admin, we think about a different parallel universe. That parallel universe is nothing but your availability, like how far a Jira admin or Atlassian admin is going to refer to these server issues, the day-to-day database issue, the up and down collaboration issues, and all kind of stuff. So when we say the cost effective, it's not only about the users, license, process, procurement. It's more beyond that. It's more over like how you're going to host something, how it's going to be cost effective with your infrastructure. Right? So all those things come to the picture. Now, obviously, you have a system, you have everything, and then you have a global reach and innovation. So this too is kind of uh, connected. Like if you have a global reach, probably you'll also be there. Like you have a bugs attracting to some new innovation. So that's how it's going to be. And obviously, I just saved this one from the last. So which is your disaster recovery? So which is nothing but your improved data backup and your recovery option. So Atlassian take care of it when you move to cloud, right? You don't need to worry about your backup and everything. So your security, your backend, your networking, all thing goes into the hand of Atlassian, which they are taking care with very, very, very great responsibility. Okay. Now coming to the cloud migration strategies. So there are various strategies. So actually, when we say types of cloud migration, it's like one is with the strategies and one is with the type of migration that we're going to discuss. So it's like you are rehosting it, like you're moving from, you're lifting something and shifting it somewhere. You're lifting it, refactoring it, making a re-architecture, and then moving it out. And you're actually re-architecting within your systems. You're rebuilding everything from scratch. And you're like retiring something, you're just making end of life of your some of tools, and then you go back to your new systems. But obviously, you if you're going for the scratch thing and everything, you have to get something done in your cloud system. So I know where you say that I have to start to scratch it. It's not a migration. Yeah, it is a migration because whatever types of method or policies or whatever the process you used to follow in your server or your data center, for example, and you want to move it to the new data center or into new cloud, you have to see the capabilities. So that's where you are rebuilding it, re-architecting and retiring something to into new and something like rehosting and refactoring. Everything consolidated into one. So it's like your destination, what product you need to migrate, the data you need in cloud, consolidation, migration strategy, and app migration. So there's the importance of this slide actually. The importance is you might see that, okay, this is a type of migration strategies, but this session is more related to the testing or post migration checks, right? So believe me, so whenever you do any kind of migration or something like that, you at every step you have to do some testing. For example, you're doing a process, you have to do a testing of that process. You are trying to create a new kind of automation or process or scripting, right? You have to make a test out of it. Okay. And even including migration, you are doing something, you have to test. And I believe in, I guess in some of the attendees right now, I see Varun over here. Right, and I believe I have read somewhere that Varun, you did a very big migration recently, and I guess so you did. And I saw one of some of your posts, like we are doing a big migration and all. So I believe you know the testing process and everything, and what are kind of stuff that you have gone after the migration. So that's what we it is about, and moving to the next one. Okay, so eventually all testing depends on the type of strategies and what kind of migration method you go for. Okay, it's almost the same. But anyhow, the type of migration or method you choose based on your strategies, it comes at the end of the day with your testing. So I'll just give a small glimpse how it is, how we are talking about the strategies and so on. So Jira, we have four types of migration strategies or migration method, I must say. Pardon me. So I'll say it as a migration methods. So that's like cloud migration assistant. Like every Jira admin have used this one. And if you have done from server to server, server to data center, you might have not. But believe me, this is one of the best tool from the Atlassian that just select some data and click a migration, right? But eventually, that's not as easy as it sounds. It's more different. Right. So, for example, you're just moving some clouds, everything new to cloud, or you're moving some existing thing, and you want to do something like one by one project, or you want to go with all data at once. So that's how it works out. And going to the cloud side import is like you are moving everything, you are combining everything into a zip file, moving it to the cloud, and importing it out. Again, they have n number of testing. So currently till now, and n number of migrations we have used majorly with the JCMA, Jira Cloud Migration Assistant, and we have used very few times Jira Cloud Side Import. But nevertheless, both have given us many hiccups. That's hiccups. I'm talking in about some kind of bugs or some kind of errors or human errors or probably some sort of testing. And then we have merge in Jira server, like merge multiple Jira cloud side, merge multiple Jira servers, and you want to import on some specific project, we use merge in Jira server process. And then we have Jira cloud CSV import. So it's like you are just entering the Jira data in a very small subset, like Jira IDs, assignee, reporter, and just few of the summary and XYZ thing. You really don't care about the history, attachment, or something like that. Then you have a last option, Jira's Cloud CSV import. It's just like you are importing the CSV data into your system. And I believe if I have any QAs over here, then those QA would able to, they know that CSV thing is always part of their life, importing some kind of test cases and all. So it's similar thing over here. And for the Confluence, it's like whenever it sounds like we have to do a Confluence migration, Bibek and I are very happy. Why? Because this is one of the easiest one. But trust me, guys, there are n number of challenges in form of testing and changes. But this is one of the simplest than the Jira one. It's like you want to export 5 spaces, right? Just export in the CSV or in the zip file, import in your new instance. It's not about your moving it to like from server to server or server to cloud or something like that. So that's how it goes out. And cloud side import is like export all of your instance into zip file and then import it out. That's how it goes. So it's like if you don't have alternative CCMA, which is Cloud Confluence Cloud Migration Assistant, right? You can perform this cloud space export and import, which is your cloud site import. That's how it gives out. So that's with this thing, and I believe, so anyhow, I don't need to recall everyone over here that how this works and all. I truly recognize that everyone might have used it, and they have actually used it a number of times. And just to know, like probably we have some polls going on. Bibek will be like creating some polls right now. He might have already created some or published some, right? You can actually see those stuff, and you can actually start doing some inputs over there. Yeah, that will come up to know like what level of requirement I need to make more myself into the session related to your poll answers. So going to the next part. So what we have is server to cloud migration and cloud to cloud migration, how this testing works. So actually, right now the majority thing starts, and it's more like right now we will be talking more about the testing approach process, like why and where you really need all the stuff, right? I know the testing process is a very vast thing. You cannot do a testing in a day or two, right? If you're talking about a very big instance or even a smaller instance, even a medium instance of Jira or Confluence, you should always give the testing performance action UAT and every all kind of stuff couple of days, and you should actually give it the testing process to everyone. Like anyhow, we have a dedicated like, we have a list of user who should be the actual testing and who should be doing all kind of testing, right? So it's like whenever you are planning for some kind of migration from server to data center or cloud, right? You have heard this thing from the school life, college life till now, even in childhood, if we are buying something, right? Like in childhood, we whenever we used to buy a uh, electrical and non-electrical appliances, we used to test it out whether it's turning on and off, and if we are buying a TV, the remote works or not. So all those kind of testing, right? So if you recall the stuff, right, you have got the product. Eventually, there have been a testing done to just release that product. Let's talk about a television sets, right? The television sets and TV is already out there, and you do a testing, right? It's working or not, it's all good or not. Prior to that, there have been done some heavy lifting testing by the developers or by the one who have created the TV model, and the this distributor who are just selling the all the units of TV, right? So same way, if we talk about this one over here, when you do kind of migration, sometimes you do a migration as a UAT test migration, wherein you do actual mimic of your production migration, you test it out. Same thing you applies with the actual production migration. So if you ask me, right, so how really well this migration works out, so many times, even me and Bibek, many times what we do is we whenever we do UAT testing, we are like, oh, hey, it's a UAT. Who cares for the UAT, right? In the starting, we used to do some of the cases we used to do that stuff, and sometimes we miss out the actual process. It's like we have to migrate, let's say 500 projects, and we are like we have done 488, and we are like, okay, 12 projects are remaining. No one cares. Okay, let it be. But what if those 12 projects are important, right? So testing is really important, and there are some required proven post migration checks and this thing that you have to do. So as simple as that, testing your migration will really help you to do a live migration, and you know all the ups and downs, pros and cons, and anything which is going to be expected during migration. And it's not that whenever you do a migration for the UAT, right, you're all good and you are 100% sure that it's going to be there in the it's going to be the same in the production. No, there will be hiccups. There will be like uninvited guest. We call it a bugs or something like that, and they come to your production migration, and at that time, all your days and night caps into one, and you are just holding a cup of coffee 10 times a day. So that really happened. So be
Yeah.
aware of that, be prepared of that.
Just to
So
add to Piyush, when he mentioned that we intentionally miss few of the projects for migration, those are sometimes related to some app-specific migration, which we take care of separately. So what generally happens is, if we are targeting a particular requirement, say the customer has 5 plugins, he wants to have the same plugin migrated, like 2 out of the 5 plugins he wants to be migrated because 3 are not supported or not available in cloud yet. So what we'll do is we'll batch out the complete migration in based into the category where it falls. Like few needs the app data also, few doesn't need app data. So sometimes if the app are interfering with any existing Jira's functionality, like it can be a workflow related permission or any testing related data, then we try to keep it separate so that the standard Jira data, those can be easily tested out before even we send it to the UAT. The rest of the projects where we know that we do not need to do an intensive UAT until we are sure that the app data is migrated, that is where we take the different app storage. So just wanted to pitch in there. All
yeah,
yours, Piyush.
thanks. Actually, that's required. So the whole till my lifetime for the Atlassian tools that I have did something right, majority of part goes with what someone has done correctly, wrong, or something else. So it's like they are. And Sajid, yes, I see your message right now. There are some troublemakers, but obviously I won't name it because want to cause some kind of reputation things over with them. Okay, they have done fantastic job, but eventually many times we might get some kind of troublemakers, but it might be due to some kind of bug or something new. So they are, but probably at the end of this session, right, we have something. I'll just share something like what we have found out as the troublemakers. And guys, if you have really questions going on a live chat, we are just open right now, right? So you can just type in your message and let us know. Okay. So, and just coming back to our actual process, how testing works, right? So, this is a generic statement what I've heard every time. So, it's like basic steps that you have to perform. Just like whenever you go and buy for a mobile phone, basic thing, you've got a very nice processor, you've got a very nice camera, and all kind of stuff. That's all testing. Okay. And in our case, it's like when you do a testing, right, do it like clean up all your data, right? Clean up all your data in your UAT environment and then try to do a testing. You never know. Even a small piece of cache in some kind of configuration might cause trouble, right? So sign up for your cloud side, set up your Atlassian access if you have, if you're going to, then perform the test migration. It's like there are some step. Uh, do you perform all the pre-requested and doing the migration process and everything there on the Atlassian side? Okay. You once you're done that, then you review your data and conduct user acceptance testing. Now that's the very important part actually. Whenever you say that okay, after migration, then we'll let the client or we'll let the users know that hey, you can do the testing. But what I always feel is whenever you do a prerequisite, at that time itself, gather some set of documents, prepare that, uh, make sure you sit with your Jira admins, you dedicated users, or even your partners, or even your, if you're a partner, then sit with your client, and if you're a use admin, then sit with your partner or sit with your users, right? Just make some channels for dedicated users and let to know their thought process, what they are going to test it out, right? Make it like habit, like prior 2 3 weeks of prior of your UAT migration. Then what will happen? You will have trust me, you will have near about 50 plus of UAT testing action item, like attachment is working or not, your indication is working or not, something like that. So those are like, and once you're all done, once your actual 2 weeks of testing is done, you have validated every use case, everything. Then you have a go no go call whether you are you really ready to go with the UAT testing, complete with the UAT testing, and you're all set for the actual production migration. Okay, now you have seen that many times that after UAT testing has been completed, still your partner or your the owner of the application or team lead or someone like that who is owners, right? They give like around 2 3 weeks of process. Why? The reason is actually even the partner or even the Jira admin requires 2 3 weeks of additional times between the production migration and UAT completion date. That's because that's the time where you actually go through all the bugs that you find out in the testing process and by the users doing the UAT testing, and you really consolidate everything, and then you add everything into the post migration action item, and that's how your testing performs. So we have seen a lot that we are like we have planned out around 80 test cases or 80 process, 80 testing, 80 action items, and when we actually complete the UAT, we come up around 90 or 100 action items. So that's all because of the testing, and that's how it goes. Like your even your 99% testing will be able to help you to achieve your 100% of cloud migration whole action item, including your production. That's how it goes. And trust me, till now in my previous organization, in my previous company, what I have seen is okay, runbook. Runbook is for like some sort of okay, this is the application, how to use the application. But recently, when I just started the migration process, right, I have seen the runbook of different companies, right? Everyone is maintaining their own runbook. Runbook is nothing but it's like you have some sort of action item in your prerequisite. Then you have planning of migration. Then you have testing of the migration. You have completion of the migration. Then you have the actual production migration, post migration activities. So that's what a runbook is. And just think about in our school days or college days, we used to have a slam book, right? And we used to have a different pages on the slam book. So every page would have a different perception. Every page would have a different kind of thought process. So that's what this could be a slam book for Atlassian migration. And if I say slam book for Atlassian migration, so those who are here, who have done or who are going to, or who are already doing some kind of migration, right? Now they will come across, hey, I have a slam book for this type of migration. I'll just start it out. So whenever I and Bibek discuss something like runbook, we say, hey, where's your slam book for this type of migration? That's how we actually do. So we have renovated the word from runbook to slam book. That's what it's helped us a lot. Okay. So and obviously you have developed change boarding and launch plan. So that's all part of it. Okay. Now coming to the next part, right? Who will be testing and what actions are there? So these are the three things what we have actually majorly made it out. Okay. And just prior to that, we still have polls running out. I still want you guys to start hitting out the polls. Click on the poll section and start adding in options and answers over there. And there are some fantastic questions that we both have drafted, not formal, kind of classy and informal thing. Start reading it out, and you'll feel it happy about those answers, and you can get to know. Like the one thing I just started right now, and you can just see the poll option polls over there. Okay, coming back over here. So Jira admin, Confluence admin, the one who is going to do testing, not only you, even your users, even dedicated teams. For example, you have 10 different towers, 10 different teams using it. Gather one or two users, probably a developer and the QA, right? Add it to the testing team in the testing environment. If you are a partner, right? If you are having a partner who is doing who is doing the testing, ask them to do the test process with your guys. And even if you are doing it, then ask your partner to do their test cases, and just like consolidate you all the testing thing that you've done, and eventually by the Atlassian. So actually, the via Jira admin and the users and the partner is the one who's going to test on the action. Atlassian is not going to test for you guys, okay, until unless I'm not sure if you have a very good rapport with the Atlassian developers and the migration guys, then you can go, or else you're taking them for a dinner or lunch. They can do for you, but that's not the case. Atlassian is going to help for the action item because in your case, in any of the cases, sorry, there are a number of things that Atlassian can do. The first thing, what I always hate about is I don't have access to the cloud database. I'm just waiting for that day when Atlassian is going to give read-only access for the cloud instance. Majority of thing will get solved. And if someone agrees to hit your message in the chat box. Then, okay, now how this testing is going to be. So I know like I'm going like what to be tested and then who's going to be tested, but I'm going to the reverse thing. Who is going to be tested, and then it comes to what is going to be tested for. Okay. So for here, we have some users, like just add this thing to your Slam book or your run book, that how whenever you do kind of migration, right, you are going to test, you should have a dedicated testing process. The whole testing process should be different. So you need to have like whenever you are going to do a testing, right, uh, hit out a list in Excel or users in some kind of channels, whatever you have, or mail that you need to have some regular users like a customer support representative who try to manage with tools daily, or a customer inquiries and ticket, right? Those are the regular users. Power users with broad permissions. So they are like a project manager, scrum master, even the even the developers who have a dedicated different type of levels of access, permission, all kind of thing. So those are the users I'm talking about. They should draft into power users. Then you should have an additional application component. For example, right, there's for example in this one, Emily, who is responsible for handling integration and third-party apps that interface with the other application. For example, if you have a Jira Confluence, it's connected with third-party tools like ServiceNow, or else your Workday, even your some different DevOps tools, GitHub, Bitbucket, all kind of stuff, right? So they should be also involved. So I know the GitHub and everything is like power users, but try to differentiate all these users every time. Every time, make sure you have this kind of four list. Obviously, your list can be more than this options, but this is one of the most uh, c- like context out, or I can say one of the smallest. Uh, how I can name it out? Okay, it's
Yeah,
like one of the
thing
best.
is,
Yeah,
yeah. So the thing is, what Piyush is trying to say here is, even if you follow a slam book based on each project, the kind of migration you are doing, you need to involve specific person from the migration team, from the client side also. That may be a project lead for that matter on each project that you have migrated, because the permission will change based on what they have already configured from the server where it was there, and now once they move into cloud, it should not be a surprise. So try to pick user from each group. That will basically cover all the test scenarios. When you are targeting the UAT in the cloud environment, you should target one user at least from each group that you have configured in your permissions. Yeah, all yours, Piyush.
sure. Thanks. Yeah, so probably I was falling out of words, but thank you for jumping in. Okay. So obviously like regular users, power users, user with additional involvement, and the user responsible for data reporting. Now, many times even we have seen that you comes in, everyone comes into picture, the whole VP suit, C suit, got a manager level thing, but many times they miss out the data reporting to the additional tools or within the Jira or Confluence process. So every just trust me, like this Jira is not only about for your data storage or something or the development process. It's also about the reporting. The majority part goes with the reporting. Okay, so that's come to picture, and you should really have a reporting person be there in the cloud, sitting to do some testing, because obviously for them it will like server or server data center versus cloud, that differs on the UI. So that's some of the thing. So once you assemble all this user with a different rules and different perspective, they would do the actual testing for you. Okay, probably you can just sit aside, have a cup of coffee, a number of times in a day with the cookies, and they are going to do the testing. But eventually, you have to connect with back to them how well how testing they are doing and how actual they are doing the testing. So the reason you need to connect with them is that in future, whenever you do a kind of process similar thing, right, you know what kind of perspective they would have, because every migration, if you're a partner, right, every migration will differ in some kind of another. So I would say like every migration is a DNA kind of stuff. It will be different every time. You won't have the same number of users versus same number of action item. Though you are moving just a JSM project from A to B location, still it might have different kind of configuration versus integration versus the requirement. So everything would be same, different. Sorry, everything would be different, but you have to maintain that thing. And every time, every migration is learning for you, and you have to grasp that process. So just moving on to the next part, right? So this is actually going to be the required major slide of our this whole process. I know I have spoken much more about why the migration, how the migration, why the testing, and how the testing should be conducted, right? But what testing you need to do it out, right? This is a very, very, very generic process, and we like every time we have this thing, and we actually do, we create around testing test cases, and even the post migration task for us, right? And that's all using this single slide. We have a separate Excel file that we maintain. This is a generic copy paste thing. We do it every time. This is what we every time make a check mark once we do all kind of testing during the UAT process, even after the UAT, during the production migration and proven post migration checks. So this is more like a combination, right? So it's like what testing and what sort of post migration checks you need to do it out. Okay, so I believe Sajid, you asked that process, right? How is a troublemaker? So this troublemaker will be over here. Stay tuned. We will be showing some troublemaker. Anyhow, I believe we have already
Covered
canceled
this.
names, scratched out the name, but you'll come to probably you can guess it out what you're talking about. So I believe okay, let's do one thing. So once we'll show that screen, right? So probably one can start guessing the vendor app names. Okay, just this for the fun purpose, nothing for the issues, but this will be okay.
No, Piyush, I have actually used different images, not the one which causes us more trouble, because those were not even complicated that I could take a reference. So apologies who wanted some uh, or who were ready with some spoilers in the chat section. I have got rid of the troublemakers from the slides, and happy to connect on LinkedIn. If you have guessed it right, we can definitely take the conversation ahead. Yeah, Piyush.
That's a great approach. Else you end up in paying more percentage of money for next plugin things. Okay.
Yeah.
So paying next, right? Actually, this is what we generally follow every time, and I believe I have done around 50, 70 plus of migration, different aspect. Even Bibek has done around the same migration list, right? So we have seen this thing as one of the common thing. Okay, so this is like why Jira admin and the content and what they really need to do it all right. So what we generally follow is we actually do a mapping, like having a big screens on our desks. Okay, one is with the server, one is the cloud, data center of the cloud, and we actually matches the notation scheme, workflow scheme, custom fit, workflow condition, and app data, generic integration with other tools, links, and attachment. So this list is going to be there for you for the testing process. Not only testing, this is going to be a post migration checks. So like you are migrating notation schemes, right? That's there. But let me give you a small spoiler, right? Whenever you do a migration of notations, like whenever you do a migration from instance A of server or data center to the cloud, right? And if you have any of the notation scheme levels, notation level to be like associated with some kind of user custom field. If you do a migration, that is not going to get supported in your cloud. So the migration, the JCMA is not going to migrate your notification levels. For example, issue created notifications will be sent to custom field XYZ, which is user type custom field, user group. That is not going to migrate it. So if you are in doubt right now, you can go back to any of your migration, just verify it, and you will come to know that, hey, okay, that's true, that some fields are not there, some notation levels is not there in the list. And I'm not sure, no one, probably some might have already encountered, some might not, but yeah, that's the case. So that's the reason every part is need to be tested out, because you never know what's something might be missing from the Atlassian JCMA or the cloud migration, or something might having some bug and which didn't got migrated. So same way, workflow schemes and workflow custom fields, right? Each custom field, I know it's a big list. You cannot search if you are doing a migration of around 500 custom field thing. You cannot have that option to just verify each and one of them. What I have a thing, whatever you do is get some SQL, good SQL queries drafted for your server, hit that in your database, ask Atlassian to give a database dump, get database SQL dump of a particular query, compare it out in Excel. If you are very good in VLOOKUP thing in Excel, do that stuff. Else, now we have AI thing that will help you out. So that will start comparing and it will give you what if there are any difference. Okay, so this is extensive kind of testing that you probably always need to do. And that's the reason in the starting I said, right, I'll be very happy that day when Atlassian might give access to their database for a partner or for a org admin guy to access the database in read-only mode. That will be one of the best, happiest moment for every Jira admin, right, Sajid? If you're over here, what do you say? What do you think about it? It will be a good thing for the whole world to have a read-only access for a database to file some queries. Okay, that's the case. And if you have app data, like if you have some plugins, right, each plugin will vary on the test phases. For example, let's talk about the X-ray. Okay, I know X-ray is over here in the JiraCon, right? If you do X-ray, then obviously you have to generate a logs, you have to check out all the error reports, and then all the your X-ray test cases have been migrated, right? And even some kind of configuration might also have been migrated. But always look out for every like Atlassian and everyone in the plugin world, they have the very good documentation that what's going to get migrated and what's not. Always refer to that. That's like a tooltip for you guys, for everyone, that you can always go in and have that thing prior to your migration or doing your migration or even a prerequisite. So obviously you have just verify all links are there, all attachment are there. This is something that Jira admin and the users can do. Not everything by the users actually. And what we always follow is like dashboard, right? So always create a dashboard, and dashboard would be like issue count, like create a beautiful dashboard in your server, and same thing post migration in your issue count, right? So it's like I
Two
believe
dimension.
Vivek can Vivek is very good in that dashboard thing.
So basically, what we generally do is have not one but multiple two-dimensional dashboard that basically covers all the data fields from each project. So suppose, as I spoke earlier, if there are one team lead or project lead from each project is involved in the testing scene, then they will be like very happily go through the dashboard instead of searching with JQL and all. They can easily refer the dashboard and see what are the issue counts. They know what are the permissions are already. So once they are in the issue count, and then the rest of the things they just fall into place, like what are the fields they see in the view issue screen. If there are all the workflow transactions, those are going in correct way or not, because those are particular to, in most of the cases, those are very particular to the project until unless they are shared schemes. So that is how we generally target whenever we are handing over for UAT. Ideally, having a dashboard for our reference also, it is very helpful. As soon as the migration is complete for Jira data, just have an eye on the dashboard. If the number matches, then you are good to proceed with rest of the migration. And because we are talking about the dashboards, yeah, hello.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
carry.
yeah. So as we are talking about the dashboard, not to forget the dark mode that I believe Piyush might already be having in his back of his mind. So, and that's coming soon. This might not be part of the slide, but you can take it as a bonus tip.
Yeah.
All
Sure.
yours, Piyush.
Sure, thanks. So this is for the admin or users, right? The same way if you're a partner, you're acting as a Jira admin for them, or org admin or content admin. So you're going to perform those things, obviously. And then you have actually advanced level of dashboard, right? Because you might know much more about the dashboard and all the kind of process. So we also create some kind of advanced dashboard. This is for the partners who are doing the migration at the extensive level. You
Correct.
create a issue count versus issue count and just a project count, because if you are a generic Jira user, you'll just create, okay, my count for this particular project matches, but that might differ. You might have different a number of you might have subtask A, and again subtask A migrated, subtask A duplicate. That's how it goes out. So, like I said, integration schemes and modules, that is also there. Workflow scheme. So you all have to check the condition, transition, integration. So the previous slide that we showed and this slide, everything combines into the n number of tasks as a testing cases, testing, and even your post migration checks. So this slide is more with the post migration checks, right? You do a dashboard post migration, that's come over here. You do a checkup with your notation scheme, that comes over here. Check out all the condition, transition, and integration with the apps over here. So this is like post migration thing. And if you like, just create a screenshot out of it and create a very beautiful scrapbook or run book. And whenever you do a migration, just create some kind of scripting automation thing. Click on it and start creating a test cases and test ticket for you, like test case or post migration checklist for you. So your app data and other tools and integration advanced commentary. So that's done by mostly by your partners. Okay. And we are going to have a Q&A at the last 10 minutes of this session, right? We still have more 7 minutes to go. So it might sound me hurry, but trust me, I'm not in hurry mode. I'm going to answer all your questions, and we will still be over here in the sessions in the JiraCon23, and we have more slides to go. So stay tuned. So Atlassian to action, and now we have talked about everything. Now the majority part is Atlassian action, right? Why we included Atlassian in the testing phase, right? So like I said, right, you need to get some redundant data. You have to get to the Atlassian. Okay, so just like you have to gather some SQL output, you cannot go all those 500 custom fields and lists. So you just need to run a single CSV or Excel thing. You go back to Atlassian, ask them to give us the data output, and they are going to give to you. And we have some known issues like we have seen majority time, and probably Bibek might have already raised this thing with Atlassian, that attachment known issues. So whenever you do a migration, the attachment preview doesn't work. You have to get back to the Atlassian and get to know. And just same way when you do a Confluence migration, so you have some kind of hyperlink that needs to be migrated from domain A to domain B. That's the process. You are having some links within the Confluence. You want to change it out. That also required to be done by the Atlassian. Actually, Atlassian has that list, what can be migrated and what cannot be. So you can always go with that process, and that can be done.
So
Okay.
good thing is, if you are happy with the first and second column testing post migration, third one will never make you run the remigration. Like remember removal of redundant data, may it be the attachment preview. This Piyush spoke about. Everything is like doable from Atlassian side, and they have never disappointed us. It's always that you need to block the time for the migration, so that you need to give the migration time window for them, so that they will be waiting for the migration to complete. Once that is done, they can get all the action item in place, and it doesn't take much of time, to be honest. If you have a buffer of 1 day for cleanup or post migration activity, those should accommodate all of this activity, whatever you see in this slide, including the Atlassian action part. It's not always true that all the Atlassian action part has to be taken care. It's just a case to case basis thing. For some user, you might see an issue with attachment. For some users, you might not see, like, so for some migration you might not encounter that. So it's based on how lucky you are, if you need to reach out to Atlassian or not. So that's how it is. I will be moving on to the next slide. So these are basically kind of template that we prep on a migration, like before the migration, what is needed, what is not needed. It's just a sample based on what we are doing, whatever is the scope. We tend to change it. So priority and status, those keep on changing. Rest of the things, the duration, how much time does it take, that actually accumulates to how much effort and time you need to be prepared to invest in your testing efforts. And this is also one of the same thing. So this is for the testing part, whatever is mandatory, which has to be done by end user, which has to be done by the stakeholder, which has to be done by the kind of Jira admin. And last but I was about to say not the least, but it's the last option. If you kind of land into a situation where you do not have any method to roll back, you should always be having a rollback plan handy with you. So it's kind of always recommended to have all this kind of post migration activities listed, just to make sure you do not skip them. And Piyush, I will hand over this one. So this is one of the challenges that we have faced in the past. It's kind of reference thing. If you see, based on the amount of data, or like the first one, application failures. I'm not saying the application failed, but you should not be worried if you have done proper testing. You know that if you see Zephyr data, it took 17 hours, but it did complete. Planning poker, it actually took 2 or 3 hours more, from the time the screenshot was taken. It took 2-3 hours more, but it completed. So you should not be worried if you run into such situation. Just do a benchmarking of how much time does it take for a sandbox or test migration. Have it ready for your reference. If you feel like something is not working, your process is stuck somewhere, always reach out to a vendor for any solution or workaround, and if they can help in any way. But 99% of time it will go through. If you have done proper UAT in the sandbox, it should go through. The second one is for connectivity interruption that we generally get rid of during the initial assessment time itself. Invalid email address, cloud token has expired, all those things. Those are generic thing that all the Jira admin, they come across on a day-to-day basis. So we should not be worried around that one. Just before the prod migration, make sure that you have kind of removed all these warnings.
So they are more like hard lessons learned. That's all, because you never know something will come up. You really never know that you are stuck with some kind of UAT action in the server and for the migration, and the guy who's handling the UAT server is on leave. You never know what might happen. So it's like something can happen. I know it could be human thing, but it could be something like many times you might see some plugin getting stuck in between, like Bibek said, and then you have some differences in the types of migration, like redundancy, disaster recovery, and so on. And the next one is more like uh, the next slide would be more like related to your heap sizing, right? For example, your plugin integration fails out, the integration doesn't exist anymore, or the API might have changed. You have some kind of internal scripting process that might also be get changed, right? So the manual work required. So it's like manual thing is one of the thing that I've never liked it out. It's like you have to test something and you have to do that manually, or probably it's like you have to remove some kind of context. Like I'm sure everyone might have seen this in their migration strategy or migration actions, that some of the fields get added migrated on so and so date, like everywhere in the permission scheme, work scheme, everything, and that need to get be done by the Atlassian. And when you do the phase migration, right, in the phase migration, you see that the roles or status get duplicated. Like you have a role as administrator, now you get administrator migrated. Then you do again a migration in the production, administrator migrated too. Now you have to delete all the administrator migrated, copy all the user of administrator migrated to the actual administrator role, and then you have to delete out. So that's a whole big process. But yeah, but the good thing is we have something come up with solution of that thing. Do connect with us on the LinkedIn if you really want to resolve your migrated on thing and the multiple action items over there. Do connect us. We will be able to help you on the LinkedIn. So actually, there's just on the previous slide, right? We have Atlassian KB paper, KB articles and the white paper, and those will be able to help you in some sort of data like this, like how the migration work out, how you can prepare, and even this has some test cases and testing process. And one of the Excel picture that Bibek showed, right? The prep thing, the Excel list, the whether it's done or not done, what action items you need to do. This is actually coming from Atlassian. They really have maintained that thing. You can use this. You can use their action item. You can use their Excel and then reconstruct it with your like reconstruct it with different type of migration you're doing, or else a generic one that will applicable to all. So that's all for that one. And moving to the last slide. So that's all proven post migration checks for Jira and Confluence, and really thank Trundle to actually having this JiraCon. And this is my third year of JiraCon. Last 2 years I was attendee. This year I'm a speaker. Thanks Ajit and thanks everyone. Thanks Patrick to asking us to host the one of the sessions for JiraCon. That to be the first session of the JiraCon, and I believe everyone might already have liked it, and you have like enjoyed our session, right? We may not be good, but we may be too good. It's all up to you. It's all up to your answers. And we have gone through polls, and actually you might have seen the very great, excellent questions out over here. So thanks, Vivek, for suggesting some kind of changes over there. So I can see like many times, like on your list, like sometimes you have used the Excel checklist and many times have not. So I must say that you can start using those checklists and that will be very beneficial for you. And like going to the polls, actually, I'm just declaring some polls result, and I have only one answer for the issues encountered or at most migration doomsday. That is your plugins. Yeah, many times it's a plugin, but whenever you do a plugin thing, whenever you encounter something, you will get to know something new in those lists.
Yep.
And
I have a bonus tip on that one. Every time when you are planning for a migration, real kind of prod migration, just check with the plugin vendor at least 1 week ahead if they have any planned downtime or upgrade. Because in cloud, what happens is if their downtime or upgrade window overlap with your Jira migration, then things can get really messy because their downtime might be of half an hour, but generally a prod migration may take a day, 2 day, you never know. And if you are not that lucky, that half hour of plugin downtime will lead to another set of migration run. So that's a bonus tip from my side. Thanks, Piyush.
by the way, we are still open for the Q&A, right? We have one questions over here in the Q&A. So Samshidhan, I have your questions. I was about to type, but I'll just pick it right now. Post migration, we have observed user names replaced with user IDs in right, but in the JQL and filters on the cloud. So I believe your question is more like uh, since those are using or replaced with the IDs in the cloud and Jira SQL filters and cloud, because of GDPR and some sort of process, like that's how it's acted out. It's like a personal information production, right? PII, all kind of stuff. So all those things come to picture, and that's the reason you will see the account ID, not the username or not the email address. But if you go to the JQL option within the project issues, you will
Yes.
see the usernames, or sorry, you will see the email IDs, not the user, not the actual the alphanumeric big ID. You won't see over there. But if you go to that generic JQL process, you will see whenever you type a email ID or username, it gets converted to your um, account ID, but that's known, that is done explicitly because of some kind of your information protection process by the Atlassian, and I guess that's good actually. So, and there's one question actually. The question was seriously most challenging part in your UAT process. I've answered like 50% plugin data validation and user access and permissions. Yes, user access and permission is a part of it, right? But there are some process to be followed out for the user access and permission. Connect with us, or even connect with other partners or everyone who is here in a JiraCon, right? They are going to help you with that process. I cannot explain more right now because that's a major topic.
Mm,
So
I think Piyush, we should take this one. How do we handle SSO LDAP issue post migration? So either it should work ideally if you have done the UAT in a sandbox. SSO should work like you already be having the callback URL, the token applicable on your SSO side, may it be Azure or anything. If you have configured that in the UAT itself, you will be able to identify whether the configuration is well and good. And if that is not the case, it's always a good idea to check with the admin, because from server to cloud it doesn't change much when it comes to the configuration. Just that if in case you are using the user ID and password kind of thing, it gets replaced by the API token that is available on your cloud profile once you get migrated to cloud. So that is what is the only difference that comes into picture.
actually, there are different multiple cases for that
Correct.
one. So everything is going to differ, but the majority to part is connectivity and your configuration. If those two things are good, and obviously always try to design an architectural process like what actually want have to get synced, right? And this user group needs to sync out, and this user group is what going to allocate license to this particular application. So that
Correct.
needs to be doing out. So always try to have a big diagram. Like in the childhood, we used to draw that sun, mountains, and the water. Same thing. Do some kind of diagrams. Like start creating the okay. This is an Atlassian directory. This is application. This application, this directory needs to get connected with some groups, and what all application needs to get added. So that's all. And yeah. So any more questions? We are still over here. We still have 2 minutes left, and we would like to utilize this with all your questions. And I have one question. So I have one published thing. Like how you do data cleanup post migration? Housekeeping isn't a choice over here. We know. So Atlassian to the rescue. I know, but obviously they might not do everything, right? But some of says old school manual clicks. They are in the process right now. Hit out to the Atlassian community. Everyone is going to help you. What are different perspective or different ways you can opt out from your old school mechanical manual clicks to a automation thing or the Atlassian to the rescue process. So those are there. And do you require often Atlassian support for migration activity? I see majority of time people are say sometimes something like that. So yeah, it's a generic one. Sometimes you need, sometimes you don't. You are a
For
pro.
us also.
Yeah. Even for us, like sometimes we are like pro and sometimes we are like Atlassian, please help us out. So that's all good right now, and we are at the last minute of the session. Probably we'll just give a minute back to you all guys. If you still have any more questions, I see one more question over here. We'll connect with you, Shamke. We'll connect you with you later on, right? And thanks you all for being a great attendee over here, right? Though you were silent, but I know that in the silence there's a big storm coming in. So the storm will be your questions, your ask action items, or how well we do something, the scripting process, non-scripting, everything. Okay, and everything. So that's all my last notes. Back to you, Bibek, for your notes.
A big thank you to Trundle and all the attendees who were made to this session today. Hope to hear back from you guys. Feel free to connect with Strategenics for any migration related issues, any session, any consulting, and also please feel free to connect with Piyush and me after this session also if you have any outstanding questions or if you have any suggestion that we can include to our existing process. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Divya, all yours.